Alright, so we'll start now itself. So did anybody have any questions at all? Because a lot of people ask me questions in main chats of different servers, but so many that it's really hard to keep track of them. You guys can either mute yourself or you guys can type it in the chat itself. Doesn't matter. This is being recorded, so if you guys want to look back at it later, it will be posted on YouTube. But since before you go, meanwhile, since okay, never mind. We got a question. First question is, do you pay attention to a candle like this in the pre-market? Again, just to make sure if you're not speaking, please keep yourself muted. I don't want to mute you guys, but so the first question was during pre-market, so this is futures, so we'll head to stocks. Just want to make sure you guys can see my screen, am I correct? Sweet, okay. So someone just asked me for, let's say, Apple. We had let's say this gap up, or we had gap ups in pre-market. Is it really important to pay attention to those candles? Well, it's based on preference, but me personally, no. The reason is because I actually have my extended hours off for options. So as you guys can see, if you turn extended hours on, you see the trading price action when the market is closed. I personally don't like this as I feel like this is too much noise, so I turn that off itself. So I like seeing the gaps, and the rule about gaps is a lot of them get filled most of the time.
Touch up my appearance.
So yeah, sorry, someone was speaking. But yeah, to answer your question, no, I don't pay attention to pre-market candles. I think they're extra noise for no reason. Instead, I'd rather look at the gaps that could possibly be filled. If we go to, when was this? June 5th, you could see that Apple gapped up during pre-market. And we started testing that gap, and you could see that most of the times gaps do get filled. You could see right over here. You can see there was a tiny gap over here that we filled, right? So hopefully that answers your question. Am I still in IWM? I got so many questions about this. So I was in IWM yesterday. It was supposed to be a day trade, and I did in fact. It was a day trade. I didn't hold it over till today, which is unfortunate because it did you know freaking rally in the open of the market. So I actually wish I held it, but I only got out for I think maximum 12%. But hopefully, if you guys did keep it till today, you did trim out or exit over here, because that was a decent profit, I believe. I think it reached what did it reach? It reached like $1.40 or something, so or $1.20. I'm not sure, but yeah. So no, I'm no longer in IWM. Right. So next question is: today you were trading RSI divergence. Which other combo do you use and you see works for you? Well, RSI divergence is something that's always worked. Majority of the times, nothing works 100%. But if you guys have known me for a while, the main things I trade are primarily supply and demand zones. There's videos on my YouTube of how I plot them in various ways. If you want big demand zones and you're like a swing trader, then you look at the 4 hour, or that's what I would do. I would look at the 4 hour, 1 hour. I would change the Heikin-Ashi, and then there's a certain way that I would plot supply and demand zones. I trade support and resistances to a certain degree, but the main thing I like looking at is volume and price action. I've always used RSI in the past, especially, but I brought it back to one of the strategies that I use in the, I guess you could say, the past 3 weeks or so. Sometimes, certain markets work well for certain strategies, and others work well for others, right? So in the past 3 weeks, I've been seeing that the RSI has been working a lot. And to basically sum up what RSI divergence is this is the simplest way I could put it. And I'll release a video on this, or I have a live session on it where I go more in depth. But for example, since everyone loves IWM, right? Let's say IWM is going on an uptrend, right? So the stock price is going up, and then we have RSI on the bottom. Let me remove all these let me make it clean. So we have IWM increasing price, right? But then below we have the RSI, right? But even though the price is going up on IWM as a stock, the RSI, even though it might be going up, it's creating lower highs. Sorry. So even though the stock is creating higher lows or higher highs, the RSI is creating lower highs, regardless of the fact that the stock is going up. And since RSI is a momentum indicator, usually this means that the momentum to the upside in this scenario is dying off. So a great way to enter into divergences is, let's say we're in this scenario where IWM is creating higher highs but creating lower highs on the RSI. You'd want it to reach a, for example, if there was a supply zone, right, or a resistance, it wouldn't be a bad idea to enter into puts or shorts if you're trading futures when it touches the supply zone and so on, right? Or you can wait till it touches, or you can wait for confirmation. But yeah, that's how you trade RSI divergences in a nutshell. I'll give more explanation another time. The next question is supply and demand zones. Did you say 4 hour, 1 hour? Then what is entry? Okay, that message is kind of chopped up. Sorry if I can't understand. But I think what you're trying to ask me is how do I plot them on the 4 hour, 1 hour? If you can just correct your message so I can understand what you're saying, and I'll get back to that. So you're saying, okay, how to plot it? So it's very simple. There's multiple ways. I do my stuff. I trade a little weird, especially my charting is a little different than other traders, but it's worked for me, so I can't say it's weird necessarily. It's just different. A lot of people trade. A lot of people chart supply and demand zones according to candlestick charts. I don't like doing that because there's a lot of noise. So two ways I personally plot these is by using either the Heiken Ashi or the Renko charts. Renko charts, not everybody has because I think there's premium and then there's a level above that. So you need to have the level above premium to have access to Renko charts. But briefly, I'll go over how to do it on Heiken Ashi. You'd switch over to Heiken Ashi, and I use Heiken Ashi for larger time frames. So, as I said before, the 4 hour and the 1 hour. And what you'd want to find is a change in momentum, right? But you want the following momentum that it changed into to be large, right? Or strong. So, for example, you could look at two areas here. You could look at this change in momentum or this change. I personally would look at this one because you could see even though we had a change in momentum, it was pretty weak to the downside, right? But we had a pretty strong downside movement over here. So then what I'll take out is the handy dandy rectangle tool and then plot according to the bullish candles before the bearish candles, right? So I would plot from the top over here. Let me zoom in so you guys can see. And you guys can tell me if I'm going fast because I start talking way too fast. At least that's what my wife tells me. So you plot from the top of the Heiken Ashi candle, right, to the bottom of, usually I like going two candles before, right, so these two bullish candles is what I would refer to. So this would be my supply zone, and you could color it whatever you want. You could color it red to be able to distinguish that it's a supply zone. Now, okay, how do we do demand zones, right? Same thing, right? I would refer to maybe this one right over here. Take out the rectangle tool, plot. So that's why I have a video on this because it goes more in depth. Like you don't want to plot it all the way up here because even though that works, that's just way too much space, and that could cause early entries or late entries. So you want to have a little bit more logic to it. So I would plot it just for this first candle right here, this first bearish candle, and now you can see that creates a demand and a supply zone, right? And now if I go back to the candlestick chart, you can see that we do in fact respect it a few times here. You can see the supply zone was respected recently and the demand zone was respected quite a few times. So that's how I plot necessarily my supply and demand zones using the Heikin-Ashi. Renko, I literally put out a video I think 2 days ago. It's just 10 minutes long. Just watch that. That basically answers that question. What other questions do you guys have? Mark, to answer your question, how I use it, how do I trade it? That's something you should honestly watch the video for because that's not a short answer I can give. But meanwhile, you guys come up with questions to ask. A lot of people ask me, are you holding, or what made you hold, or when do I trim? First off, let's make something straight. This is nothing against you guys, but I'm not a financial advisor. So can I fully answer those questions and give you suggestions? No. But what I can always do, and what a philosopher or an analyst, whatever you want to call them, can do on Discord, is give you guys their personal experience and what they've done, right? So I'll give you guys my personal experience. A mistake that a lot of people do, and a lot of profitable people will say this, is they look at the P&L of their trade, right? If you're trading options or trading futures, same thing, P&L. You look at the P&L and that kind of makes you exit a lot earlier than you should. What you should be focusing on is mainly the chart itself, right? The chart and your risk tolerance. Now, there's a video on this, on risk tolerance, and I really suggest you guys figure out your risk tolerance. But basically, the way you figure out your risk tolerance is by looking at a few factors. The reality is, the biggest factor you need to look at is your own personal income. Your income and your savings. You want to look at how much you make on a monthly basis, how much you make in a year, how much money do you have that you can save, or you got to look at that. You have to say, okay, let's say I make $3,000 per month, right? Not everyone can do that, but let's just say you can make $3,000 per month. Out of $3,000, I have $1,500 in bills, and the $1,500 left, I have groceries. I have some. I like going out with my family, my wife, my girlfriend, whatever, right? So that's another, like, let's just say $1,000. Then you'll be like, okay, I have $500. I don't mind losing on a monthly basis, so I can put this $500 into my option account or my futures account. So then you'll be able to realize, okay, this is how much I'm able to lose, and this is how much I'm okay to lose. You never want to put yourself in a spot where you lose on an option or a futures trade and it totally ruins your financial cushion or comfort. You need to realize that. I heard this from someone and I forgot who I heard it from. It resonates with me. The stock and the futures market is the hardest way to make easiest money. And what that means is you need to realize you will fail a lot before you become profitable. At least that's what happened in my case. I haven't met anybody who's been consistently profitable for 2 years or more who has not failed in the past or had multiple failures, right? So take that into account. You want to look at your risk tolerance. You want to see how much you can lose. You always want to make sure you are risking less compared to the amount of potential you have in the trade, right? So everyone always says 1 to 2, right? So for every one, right, contract you're risking, you're basically for every $1 you're risking, you're potentially gaining $2, right? So look into that, assess yourself. It's stuff that takes like 15 minutes to assess. It's not like a minute thing to assess. So sorry for going on that rant there. All right, let's see. What's your YouTube channel? You guys can actually find it on my. If you guys go to my Discord profile and you click it, you'll see it in the links there. But on the ending of this, I'll post my YouTube link so it doesn't get flooded. Let's see. Yeah, I'll post the links, don't worry. Oh, what's up, Jeremy? What's up, man? Hey, what's up, JP? What's up, Miguel? Oh, okay. Thanks. Also watching TV is asking premium for Renko charts. How can you? Oh, yeah, so for TradingView, you have to switch over to the second premium to use Renko charts. So that's up to you. Any other questions? You guys can ask any questions. I don't mind. If you guys don't know Jeremy and JP, they're my two amazing partners in my business, so they joined. Makes me happy. All right, so do supply and demand zones or resistance and zones matter on days like today, like FOMC? Okay, so that's the thing. As you guys probably know, the past 3 years, it's been a more news-oriented market, but that does not mean technical analysis is totally ignored. But you have to realize that the only levels that are going to be somewhat respected on days like this, which is FOMC or data days, are going to be large time frames. So levels you find on the 4 hour, 1 hour, right? But you won't always see like 15-minute candles or 15-minute support resistance or zones being respected because that would just easily be trumped. So you wanna plot out on the bigger time frames and see how it works, see how it respects that. Again, for things that such as S and R levels and supply and demand zones, you want to wait for confirmation. At least that's what I would do. You want to wait for confirmation so you don't get faked out. Can I show how to use Renko on Thinkorswim? I have not used Renko on Thinkorswim as of yet, so I have to check that out. Now, get back to you on that. Uh, let me check. Meanwhile, let me see. Yeah, I'll check back to you guys later and post a video if anything. But any other questions? So someone said I sold too early because of FOMC today, but at the same time, it didn't want to risk it. Is it better to just size down and risk less on days like this, or just not to trade? Well, again, it kind of refers to how you're trading. If you're trading options, it's a little bit more riskier versus like having a prop firm. Because prop firm, you're not necessarily trading with your own money. So if you're trading options, the way you have to look at it is you need to have a concrete plan. And if your plan meets, right, if your plan plays out the way you want to, in my opinion, there's absolutely no reason why you should end up red on the trade, right? What you can always do is you can wait for the trade to become profitable, and then you keep on moving your stop up. At least that's what I would do. That's what I personally do on my option trades, especially. So a lot of people move their, let's say it reaches 30% profit, they'll move their stops to 30%. Not 30%, I mean break even, right? So you want to look at, okay, how much I can risk, and if it met my plan criteria, can I should I still keep on holding on and so on. Yeah, I was trading options, so I went light and sold all my first at PT. Just didn't move and let a runner ride. Yeah, so the best practice is just trimming as much as you can in the early percentages, meaning 10 to 30%, and just having a con or two left as runners. That's just the safest way. Even though it seems like these profits are very small, the they just grow very big. Your portfolio eventually starts growing. In the end, it's about getting small gains and growing your account until you have a bigger account. Then you can focus on risking more. Someone asked, I don't use fib levels. I do use fib levels, but it depends on the market. So as you guys have been seeing, since a lot of people look at SPY, we'll look at SPY. Fib levels, in my opinion, work the best when you're less in a trend market. You can see here the past, since when was it? Since March, we've been in a mostly an uptrend, right? We only had a few pullbacks. So would a fib level, would fibs really be helpful? Yes, sometimes, but not to the degree that you would expect it to be. You'd want to wait for a major retracement, and then you'd be like, okay, then maybe I can use fib levels. But on trend days or trend markets, or trend months, you could say, fib levels don't really come that handy. You then would have to move on to smaller time frames. And not saying that this is a bad idea to do, but as you guys know, smaller time frames, those levels don't always get respected. But for example, you can see here if we plotted the fib level for this day over here, which was June 1st, June 2nd, You would plot from the to plot a bullish fib, you would plot from the low to the high, and you would see here that the fib in fact did get respected on the 61 level. So fibs are still valid. You just had to know when to use them. So you'd want to use them on days where you can use them on trend days, but the way you'd want to use it is you'd want to identify the trend. So if the trend is bullish, you would identify that it's a bullish trend. I would wait for a pullback, wait for another rally, and then usually, emphasis on usually, not all the time, do mean there would be another pullback. And what I would personally do is I would plot out the fib level, and I would wait for it to reach personally around, like, let's say 38 percentile, or there's another level over here called the 28 percentile. So, or 23, what is it? Sorry, let me check. The 23 percentile, right? So that's how that's how I would use fibs personally. But have I been using it the past I think 4 weeks I haven't used it as of much. But I used it beforehand. Yeah, of course. What other questions do you guys have? I'm somewhat an open book, so feel free to ask me. And if you guys feel like your question's too big to answer, at least ask it now so I can plan out what I should record or what live sessions I should have in the future. And just for your information, this is recorded, I presume, so this will be posted on the YouTube, which will be the link for my YouTube will be posted once we finish. Come on. You guys should have questions. I mean, not to be rude, but it's not like everyone here is consistently profitable, right? So, ask anything. Just so that you know, the only time I would say you should be comfortable with your trading skills is once you find yourself profitable for 6 months straight. Meaning, from a month-to-month basis, you're finding yourself being profitable, right? Then it's a really good mark once you reach a year and 2 years especially. But realize it does take time. So Roz asked, do you focus in a handful of stocks or a wide open market? Thank you for asking this question. This is a very good question. I wish a lot of people asked this. So this is a mistake a lot of people do. You need to have a watch list, and this watch list should not be more than maximum 30 stocks, but it should be a minimum of 10 stocks. Now I'll explain why for both. A lot of people, and I see this, and you guys, I know a lot of people are guilty about this because I always see it in the chats or people ask me. Everyone always, first of all, trade SPY. That's not a huge problem, but a lot of people just stick to SPY. And then if it's just not SPY, let's go to Tesla. And if it's just not Tesla, it'll be SPY, Apple, and Tesla. You gotta broaden your horizon. The reason for this is because if you just look at one or three tickers, you are just going to be looking at those three tickers, and then you have more room for creating more errors. And what I mean for this is you'll start chasing trades or start chasing setups. There's a lot of days where technical analysis just will not work, right? Like you'll see a valid pattern. For example, you see ascending triangle, right? You see it go like this, and you'd see like the resistance, the trend line, and then it'll break above, and it'll totally just, it'll just plummet. So that's why you need to have, in my opinion, at least 10 stocks on a watch list, because then you could go through, like for example, you could see my watch list on the right hand side here. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably guessing 20, 25 or something like that. I have a decent amount of stocks I can look at. In fact, it should be more that I can look at, and sometimes you'll just find easy trends. You just find something easy to look at. For example, the other day, yesterday, I believe, Tesla, right? It had the easiest trend you can look at. Look at this. This was a gap up, right? So we had, let me clear these drawings. So you had a gap up on Tesla, right? So you have this level right here. Where is my, sorry. If I'm all over the place, feel free to tell me. I could slow down. But you had a gap up on Tesla. So that means there's a probability that we could test the gap, right? So we did that, and you could see here that it created, if you switch to a line chart, which I had a video on earlier, which helps you plot out these resistances, you could see that we had a good falling wedge. What do we have a good falling wedge into? We had a good falling wedge into a gap. So what does that mean? There's a higher chance of reversal into the upside. So we had a falling wedge into a gap up, right? So you could see we created a support, sorry, right over here, and we reversed off of that, but then we tested again, and we had this huge green candle on the 3 minute. If since people don't use the 3 minute as much, and they use the 5 minute, you can see right here, you basically had a double bottom. I'll switch back to 3 because I personally like using the 3. And you can see we had a double bottom, and this was just, look at this. This is perfect. And then if you don't necessarily know how to trade falling wedges, well then look at this. Look on the RSI, right? I'll zoom in on the RSI. On the same exact time, which is right over here, you could see that we had an upper trend line on the RSI, and eventually we broke out of it, right? We broke right out over here. So if I zoom back out again, sorry if I'm moving too fast, but you could see if you traded according to the RSI, the time you'd want to trade or enter, it decals it's either this double bottom, right? So right over here on the RSI, or you'd wait for it to break above the trend line. So you'd wait for this big green candle, and then you would enter on this green candle over here, right? Because we broke above on the RSI as well. So what I'm trying to say is have multiple stocks, because then you could go through these. You can see what's an easy identifiable trend, and you go according to that, right? Like IWM here. If we go back a few seconds, um, you look at this and you think, okay, this could be a double bottom, or this can be a descending triangle. Is that an easy identifiable trend? No, because it's two things. It can work two ways, right? So that's why you always want to look at multiple things, because multiple stocks, sorry, so that you can find something that's easy to identify. Like, look at this. BABA looks bullish, right? There you go. There's an easy trend, in my opinion. Uh, uh, Bank of America looks bullish, somewhat bearish. Right? Actually, no, it looks bearish. So that's a harder trend to identify. So I move on. CCL, okay, this good. This is a hard trend to identify, right? So you could go on. You could find something that's easy to identify. And like, look at UAL. I don't even know what the hell the UAL is doing. This is ugly to look at. So you guys get my point. So hopefully that answers your question. Oh wow, I missed out on MU. Had a perfect bounce. What other questions do you guys have? What are the settings for your RSI? Oh, yeah, cool. Good question. So if I go to my RSI settings, my RSI length is 14. My source is close. Time frame obviously is a chart. It includes gaps, and the MA type is Bollinger Bands, right? A lot of people use SMA. I choose Bollinger Bands. The moving average length is 34, and whoops, and the standard deviation for the Bollinger Bands is 2. Those are my settings. And Jeremy, whose name is Bear, I don't know if you guys know him from other servers. He trades RSI as well. So those are the settings he and I use in our server. You guys can see right here, MU could potentially have a falling wedge. Did I move too quickly for you? Whoever asked that question, I could what I'll do is, hold on. What I can do is okay. I was gonna post a screenshot, but whatever works. But do you guys have any other questions? If you guys don't have any questions in the next few minutes, I'll end it here. But before I end it, I do want to ask you, what if we were to have another live session, right? What topic would you guys want to learn? What topic do you guys find yourself struggling with, or would want to get bigger or broader education on, I guess you could say. Someone said entry and exit management. Okay. Same. Okay, so entry and exit. Yeah, I guess I guess that's basically the question for everybody, right? Any other unique questions? Correct time to average down. Okay, so that's a valid it's a valid topic. I personally think averaging down on options personally is risky. I did I did it on IWM today. Was it IWM? No, QQQ. Oh my gosh, that was nerve-wracking. But on futures, averaging down, in my opinion, is not as bad because on futures, you don't have theta working against you. So is averaging down on futures a bad idea? Not in my opinion. But option contracts, kind of, right? So if you guys watch that Renko video, you can see that there's a demand right here. So if I were to trade MU, I would wait for possibly a closer entry to this demand zone, and I would personally wait for a confirmation for buying calls and enter into calls. So confirmation, for instance, would be if you use the RSI, a break above this trend line of the RSI. I'm looking at the 3 minute again, right? Or you could see a good candle to the upside, or if people trade volume, you would look at the volume candles. What else can you look at? Break above this trend line, a break and close above it, right? Or a retest. A lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of times when there's a trend breakout, what I mean by that is, let's say it breaks out as trend line, it'll come back and test the trend line again or test the demand zone for this scenario and then possibly go to the upside. So again, it's all up to your risk assessment. Okay, someone asked correct time to average down. Yeah, okay, I'll make a live session or a video on that. Someone asked, how do you know when to enter on that play you were just demonstrating? More specifically, how do you know when to enter the double bottom versus the first big green candle? Okay, yeah, that's a good, hopefully that brief explanation I just gave right now gives you a little answer on that. Okay, Micron looks like, yeah, it looks like a nice bullish sentiment I have on here. But again, I would wait personally for confirmation. In my opinion, this is a little risky. So I do actually have a video explaining volume. You know what? Let me post my channel right now instead of making you guys wait. So, okay. Alright, so I posted the YouTube link to the channel. Tell me when you guys are on there. Or okay, hold on. Let me change my screen. 1 second. Okay, just confirm you guys can see my screen. One of you guys, if you could just type it. Okay, sweet. Alright, so you can see I do have a YouTube channel. Reach 1,000 subs. Whoopee. Didn't know that many people cared about me. But right here, you could see that I have a bunch of videos for a while now. You can see I slacked off because I started, how long ago did I start this? A year ago. A year ago, I was on a good run. I posted so many videos, and then, college semester starts, and I slowed down. So you could see I had a huge gap from when I started posting. But it's summer again, so I'll start posting. But you can see I have quite a few good videos to look at. If anyone, by the way, has big accounts or a dividends portfolio, look at this video over here called the wheel strategy if you don't know about it. I make so much money off of this, but keep in mind you need a big account for this. But over here, we have two videos. We have part 1 and part 2 over here for supply and demand zones. This first video talks about how I plot them using the Fibonacci, and the second video talks about how you could enter. Then you have volume analysis, and someone asked about volume analysis. There's a video over here that's 2 hours long. Yeah, it's lengthy, but it's a PowerPoint presentation along with, I think, a few examples. This is a live session. Then you have risk management. I highly recommend people watch this video. This kind of talks about risk management. I'll make a new updated video on this since people are still asking. And then support and resistance video right here. I got a fibs video. How you can better ways to set a stop loss, just 6 minutes long. So I wanna, and then best time to trade. I wanna ask you guys this. On a YouTube video, be honest with me. Would you guys want shorter videos that's just easier to watch through, or would you guys want video essays, which are like these longer videos that contain more information but are longer to watch, and then you might get bored and then click off? I don't know. I'm deciding between these two. But yeah, anyway, you guys could, it's whatever. But yeah, any other questions you guys have? I know I talk a lot, so sorry about that. Yeah, shorter videos is what I was thinking as well. Cause not saying you guys are lazy to watch these long videos, but if I was watching these long videos, I mean, me personally, I don't mind watching it, but I'll zone out. You know, I'll zone out or I'll get busy. So yeah, pretty sure everyone will at least agree with me there. These have a lot of information, but of course, you know, it's hard to pay attention to. So I guess I'll switch. I'll focus on keeping shorter videos. But alright, I'll give 1 more minute for questions. If there's nothing here, I'll just end it. Sorry, my wife is texting me, so I'm just responding. Okay, so we got a question. What to do when on Renko is supply? I'm kind of confused on your question. Oh, you're saying, okay. Are you saying okay, correct me. Oh, look at that. MU is approaching. So I personally will watch for calls here. Keep in mind, you know, FOMC is starting soon, so all these setups, they could work against you. That's why, so personally, you could always wait for confirmation. Like, for instance, you could see here that Bollinger Band, even though we're in a bullish setup, look at that. The Bollinger Band is opening up more to the downside, and you're seeing a breakdown, right? So what's possibly happening here? Well, a few things. One, it could either reach the bottom of this zone, or it's just faking out investors because institutions love doing that and rallying to the upside, or it could just be a total breakdown. You know, you never know, but that's why I use confirmation. Oh, I'm not sharing my chart. Sorry, I'm dumb. 1 second. Okay, all right. So if you now you should be able to see it. What I was trying to show you is MU is breaking down, and if you see on the 3 minute at least, if you look at the Bollinger Bands, the lower Bollinger Band is opening up to the downside, right? So this shows that there's potential room to the downside before we find some upside. So that can help you with entries, right? So I guess I should post a video on RSI. That would help. So you're asking sometimes as demand and supply at the same time. You're probably trying to say that for instance, if like let's say over here, like these two candles are close to each other, so it creates a supply and demand zone. Well, then you would realize that you would have to identify the trend, and that will give you the answer, right? So in this scenario, you'd see the trend is bullish, right? That's why I love Renko charts because it helps simplify the chart and it reduces the noise and shows which way the trend is going. So you can see the trend is bullish. So then you would be like, okay, what would work more in this scenario? The supply zone or the demand zone? Well, supply zones are bearish sentiment. Demand zones are bullish sentiment. So then you would cross out the supply zone and you would more focus on the demand zone. Hopefully that answers your question. Someone says Micron looks like it wants to break into the downside. Yeah, that's possibly true. But again, you know how banks work. What it can do is, this again, look at this, right? So since we had a plan, right, or at least I had a plan, like, okay, you know, I want to wait for confirmation. We somewhat got our confirmation, but then at the same time, look, we did not, right? So we'd want to wait for more confirmation here. Uh, but yeah, all right. But I think since we no longer have any questions, I shall end the stream here. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. If you have any further questions, just message me on my Discord. Make sure you're actually messaging me. But yeah, pleasure talking to you guys. Hope you guys stay safe. See you guys next time. Thank you guys for joining.